What's going on, Southern Miss? I'm your SMTV sports anchor, Caden Robin. Sandwiched right between Valentine's Day and Mardi Gras, Southern Miss hosted their Super Saturday event, where a ton of Southern sports teams hosted right here in Hattiesburg throughout the day, including the first games for Southern Miss's baseball team. The Golden Eagles started their season against UC Santa Barbara this past Friday, but came out of the dugout a little sluggish. Santa Barbara ran away with the game after a slow Southern Miss start, and the Golden Eagles lost 5-1. But the Golden Eagles came back on Saturday and were ready for Santa Barbara this time. Big home runs by Ty Long and Joey Urban put the Golden Eagles ahead going into the ninth. With the Golden Eagles leading 8-6, the game was sealed after a hitless inning by Santa Barbara, giving the Golden Eagles their first win of the season. Southern Miss hosted one more game with Santa Barbara and was able to put another game in the win column. A big sixth inning with a massive home run by Matthew Russo to tie the game, and back-to-back scores by Dre Barrett and Ben Higdon gave the Golden Eagles a 4-3 lead. Seth Smith sealed the game for Southern Miss with one final run as they took their second win of the season. Passing on over to basketball, the Golden Eagles lost their Thursday matchup versus South Alabama. Southern Miss lost the first half by 6 and could not close the gap fully despite several good scoring runs and big games from Tyleik Weeks and Daji Benet. But on Super Saturday, the Golden Eagles came back and managed to secure a win. Going into the second half with a tie game, Tyleik Weeks came alive and scored 30 points in the second half, including 16 straight points. This gave the Golden Eagles a massive bounce-back win. Weeks' 32 points and a massive 18-rebound game by Daji Benet led the way for Southern Miss's 14th win of the season and 7th against conference opponents. While not at home for Super Saturday, Southern Miss's track and field team had their share of success in Nashville this past Saturday. The Golden Eagles secured 10 top 8 finishes across the competitions, including 2 first-place finishes in the 4x400 and shot put invite. Southern Miss will be back at it on the 23rd and 24th for the Sun Belt Indoor Championship. Southern Miss's softball team was on the road this past weekend in Leesburg, Florida. In their first game on Friday versus Loyola, Illinois, the Golden Eagles took a 2-1 lead going into the bottom of the 7th, but a big double run by Loyola put them back on top to take a 3-2 victory. But later that afternoon, the Golden Eagles found their mojo against Bethune-Cookman. A massive 7-run inning by the Golden Eagles put them in a commanding 7-2 lead that Bethune-Cookman could never overcome. The Golden Eagles completed the 8-4 victory. Saturday rolled around and the Golden Eagles found themselves down once again to St. John, New York. Southern Miss couldn't get ahead and ended up losing the game 0-4 without a single run. But later that day, Southern Miss found themselves on the right side of a blowout. Taking on Alabama State, the Golden Eagles started the game off with a massive 8-run first inning, which ended up almost sealing the win before Alabama State even had the opportunity to take up the bat. They managed to hold Alabama State to just 4 hits throughout the whole game as they won 10-1. One final game before getting on the road home, Southern Miss took on St. John, New York one more time, and after a hot 4-run start to start the first inning, gave the Golden Eagles an early lead. St. John managed to close the gap and overtook the Golden Eagles in the 5th inning. St. John took the 7-6 victory from the Golden Eagles, who will return to game action this weekend in Ruston, Louisiana. Moving on over to women's basketball, the Lady Eagles took a brutal loss last Thursday against the University of Louisiana at Monroe. A poor 32-13 point second quarter gave the Lady Eagles a massive hill to overcome, and they couldn't get over the hump as they lost 62-85. Super Saturday came around and the Golden Eagles managed to get back in the win column versus Texas State. A big 27-point game from Jacayla Johnson secured the narrow 9-point victory for the Lady Eagles after 6 straight free throws to close the game. The Lady Eagles returned this Saturday in Troy, Alabama. Joey Urban had a fantastic end to Saturday's baseball game versus UC Santa Barbara, earning him SMTV's Player of the Week. To go along with his clutch home run in the 8th inning, Urban ended this weekend with 4 runs and 7 hits to lead the Golden Eagles to their first wins of the season. Southern Miss welcomed back their tennis teams for their first home games of the year. Both the men and women's teams made their home debuts this past Friday. The men's team is coming off a win on the road and to make them an even 1-1 on the season. Sophomore player Kale Mazzei has a lot of optimism with his team.
I'm extremely confident in me and the team. We have a good group of guys, and you know the chemistry's building every single match. And finally, we're at home and no away advantage. And I'm happy to see who all comes out and supports the guys. I think we're gonna have a great weekend.
They started the weekend off winning 4-0 versus Jackson State, but lost 4-0 on the road versus Samford. The men's team returns on the 24th as they take on Alcorn State. The women's team debuted in their season openers at home as well. After their first match versus Northwestern State got canceled, our Golden Eagles got to start their season at home in back-to-back matches. They managed to secure a narrow 4-3 victory versus Jackson State, but lost the next day to Sam Houston University 4-2. They will return home this Friday to take on McNeese University. This has been your SMTV Sports segment with Caden Robin, and remember, Southern Miss to the top.